Welcome to our video presentation for Math Lesson 7.1. We're happy you joined us today. We're going to be solving for the area of circles. So we're going to look at some notes over here on the board. When you're talking about the area of a circle, we're talking about the two-dimensional shaped circle where it's flat, and then the area is going to be the inside portion. When you have the area, you're going to be on your formula chart, you're used to seeing lots of different formulas, and you look for the one specifically for the circle. And what the circle one tells us is area is equal to pi, and pi refers to the number 3.14 times the radius squared. And radius squared, I'll write that also, radius squared means radius times radius, not radius times 2. It's the radius times itself. One thing I want you to keep in mind is to differentiate between the radius and the diameter. That will be your challenge with today's assignment. But the radius is the line that starts in the center of the circle and it only goes halfway across. Whereas the diameter also goes through the center of the circle, but it goes completely through the circle. And a fun way to remember it is when you think back to when you were first learning to write your letters and you used that special dotted line paper. And when you made an R was a halfway letter, whereas the D went all the way across, went from top to bottom. And so it's a lot like that with the radius and the diameter. The radius is half the size, halfway across, and the diameter, as you can see, has a long stem here with the D, and it goes all the way along. So let's take a look at our notes. And it tells us again that the area of the circle is the covering. It measures the covering of a two-dimensional object, the whole inside portion. And the formula, what we just discussed, is area is equal to pi times the radius squared. And and here's the same memory there. So find the area of each circle. I love this visual because it's giving you a graph and it's reminding you again the inside portion. It's telling us the radius is equal to 3 inches. So here's the center. I'm going to do this just because it's harder to see on, oops, it's funny, I didn't write. There we go. That's our radius of 3 inches. And we're just going to look at the notes that were written below. And we found our shape, and then we identified the formula. And now it's time to plug in those values. Pi is equal to 3.14. The radius is 3 squared, which would be the same as saying 3 times 3. So as you solve this, you would then say area is equal to 3.14 times 9, which would give you this answer here. Area is equal to 28.26 inches squared. When we look at the second example, you are seeing the diameter, and you notice our formula calls for radius. So we have to determine what is that radius. The diameter is twice as long, or you could think the radius is half the size. And so we're going to say 10 divided by 2, and that would give us a 5. So our radius is equal to 5 centimeters. Once you determine that, because you've divided the diameter in half, you can solve. So we have our shape, we have our formula, now we're plugging in our values. Area is equal to pi, which is 3.14, times 5 squared, which is 5 times 5. So to solve this, we had to say 3.14 times 25. And when we did that, we came up with our area. Area is equal to 78.5 centimeters squared. Our final example here shows us 6 meters, and it's a line that's going halfway. That is our radius. So now we've identified our circle, we have our formula. Area is equal to pi times the radius squared, and we're going to plug in those values. Area is equal to 3.14, which is pi, times 6 squared. I hope you're already picturing 6 times 6 in your mind, which is 36. To solve for the area, we then had area is equal to 3.14 times 36, which gave us the area of 113.04 meters squared. I am going to work out our number 2. This is actually from your assignment. So I want you to Pay close attention. We keep moving our erasers. That's what hands are for. My hands are turning colors. All right, it's the real light. Number 2, find the area of the circle shown below. So we have our circle shape, and I don't think we've pointed this out as much here. Let's take a look here at those steps for finding the area. Since our shape today is circle, we've done step 1. Our formula is the area is equal to pi times the radius squared. And then we have our plug-in values to solve the equation. Now, as I look at this, I have to ask myself, am I ready? Am I ready to solve this? And I see that I do not have a radius. The line that goes all the way across the circle, passing through the center, is your diameter. So I have to figure out my radius. So if my diameter is equal to 5, the radius is exactly half of that. So I'm going to divide this out. And I would end up getting 1/2, or I'm going to write that in decimal form. So now my radius is going to be 2.5 meters. So I'm going to just write that over here. My radius is 2.5 meters. Now I'm ready to start plugging in the numbers. The area is equal to pi 3.14. The radius is 2.5. So it's 2.5 squared. Now, I want to think of that. I'm going to just go ahead and write it down here because of my work I showed. I think it's a little hard to see. 3.14, and what I'm actually saying is 2.5 times 2.5. So now I'm going to solve this, and then I'm going to come up with my answer. So 2.5 times 2.5. 5 times 5 is 25. I'm going to carry that 2. And then I have 10 plus 2 is 12. 5 times 2 is 10. I'm going to carry that 1. 2 times 2 is 4, plus 1 is 5. And I have 2 numbers following a decimal in the problem. I've got this number and this number following the decimal. So I must have 2 numbers following the decimal in my answer. So I have, this is now going to be equal to 6.25. I'm now going to measure these 2 together. So I'm going to work that out over here. Four times 5 is 20. 5 times 1 is 5, plus 2 is 7. 5 times 3 is 15. 4 times 2 is 8. 2 times 1 is 2. 3 times 2 is 6. 4 times 6 is 24. Carry the 2. 6 times 1 is 6, plus 2 is 8. And then 3 times 6 is 18. Carry the 1, and I've got 6 and 2 is 8, 8 and 4 is 12, 8, 8 and 8 is 16. I have 4 numbers following a decimal in my problem, so I need to have 4 following the decimal in my answer. 1, 2, 3, 4. And as I look over here, it's telling me to round to the nearest hundredth, so we have one more step to do. First, I have to know what is my hundredths place. My hundredths place, I have the tenths, then I have the hundredths. This number is in the hundredths place. Now, I have to look at the number following the hundredths place, and I have a 5. If the number following that would be a 5 or greater, that means that this is going to round up to the next number of 3. So I am going to look for this answer over here. 19.63 meters squared. And I hope that This is going to make solving the area of circles fun for you because math is fun. Thank you for joining us. We miss you very much. We love you and we hope you're doing well.